This episode is brought to you by Americas Rehab Campus. Get on the road to recovery with the best rehab in beautiful Arizona. Dial 1-833-272-7342. That's 1-833-ARC-REHAB.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to the ARCast.
Okay, we are good to go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of the ARCast. My name is Buddha.
This is Matt. I'm Dustin.
Yes, Dustin's with us today. Thank you for coming, brother. And today we have a very special guest. I know I say that all the time because everybody who comes on this podcast is very special. But today, man, this one, I'm really looking forward to this one. We are blessed to have the Nurse Practitioner, Director of Nursing and Medical Services with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Miss Diana. Hi there, Miss Diana. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. Such an honor to be here amongst you all.
Yeah, most definitely. We're very grateful to have you here. You know, my brain was going this morning just thinking about different questions and stuff that I wanted to ask you. You've been with ARC for how long now?
4 years, more than 4 years.
4 years. Were you here when it first started?
Almost right after it first opened, I came in.
Wow.
Beginning of 2018,
Yeah.
Okay, so you were here when we had like a census of 3.
Yes, I was here when we had like 8 people here.
How does that feel now to see where we're at this point?
The growth has been amazing. It hasn't been all easy, but I mean, definitely worth the battle we fought to get here, and hopefully we can keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure it's amazing to see going from 8 to however many people we have, like how we help so many people.
Interesting story. I was just out there on the floor and a BHT come chasing after me who I didn't recognize. And she said, "Do you remember me?" And I was like, "No." "Should I?" And she's like, "Yeah, I was here in 2019. You took really good care of me." She's back working for us now.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
So those are great stories. We have that happen quite often. And it's really, really nice to have those people come back and share their experiences.
Especially when they say, "You took great care of me," right?
Right?
Yeah, that's cool. That's really, really cool. So has this been something that you've always been interested, this part of the nursing, like the drug addiction part of it? Is this something that you've always been involved with, or did you do other parts of nursing?
No, I've been in all kinds of nursing. ER nurse for a lot of years, clinic nursing. I've been med surg nursing. I've done all kinds of nursing. 2015 is when I got into substance abuse.
Abuse.
And psych, yeah.
And was there a reason why you decided to choose this out of all of those places that you've worked? Are you in addiction yourself?
Yes.
Or in recovery, I apologize.
Recovery, yes. I'm in recovery 2015. Since 2015 is when I got into this field, obviously.
Congratulations.
And I'm very blessed because I've seen it from both sides. I've been the ER nurse that has judged addicts, like you're just in here drug seeking, put them at the end of the hall and ignore them. I was that nurse for a long time. Then I became that patient at the end of the hall, just seeking pain meds.
Yeah.
And to see it from both sides, I have such a better understanding. It's a very humbling experience.
Well, you know, and that's, to me, I always think the same thing. It's like, it also reminds me of like a police officer. I don't think you could be a good police officer unless you've been in trouble before, because you have to have a certain amount of compassion. Right. You have to be able to relate to where they're coming from because, you know, Lord knows, man, not everybody who's addicted is a bad person.
Absolutely not. No.
You know, so if you wouldn't mind, Miss Diana, I want to go back to the beginning. So are you from Tucson, Arizona?
No, born and raised in Bisbee, Arizona.
Bisbee. Shout out to Bisbee.
Ooh,
I love going over there. My kids do Flocorico over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Small town, pretty normal childhood. Not a lot going on, just normal drinking and stuff in high school, all the way through adult, really, like not a lot going on. And I got addicted and my first oxy.
Your first pill.
Oh, wow.
First pill after surgery. And I can go back to that very first pill and remember how much I liked it. First pill.
Where were you at?
In Bisbee.
You were just hanging out?
After a surgery, yeah.
Oh, okay.
After a surgery, yep.
Were you already an RN, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was already a
So
nurse.
you were like, "I've been giving these out."
Yeah, these are amazing. Where have these been all my life?
Smarties.
Now I know why people want them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that fast. It's really that fast. And that's when you kind of learn it's a brain disease. And I think that's a common misconception of people who don't understand all addiction, but especially an opiate addiction, it's a brain disease. It's not a battle of willpower or you can quit because you want to. It's really a disease and you have to treat it like any other disease.
Now, in your household growing up, was alcoholism or any other kind of addiction throughout your family that you witnessed or?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Not really horrible. I mean, I think to me, it was normal. I mean, now looking back now, it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
It didn't really affect my life. We were provided for. There was no abuse. I mean, everybody went to work, kind of a functioning alcoholic situation. But looking back now, I can see how it affected my life.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you said that first pill that you took, it just changed.
Oh, yeah.
It changed everything.
Absolutely.
Did it start affecting you like the way you were working, just like right away?
No, and it didn't happen right away. I had that surgery and I stopped and I'll never forget the feeling. And I had a following surgery and that's the time that like I started taking them and then I wanted more and more and more. That's when it just got out of control. But once that process starts in an opiate dependency, it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
Without outside help. Almost impossible to stop without outside help.
And did you going, like you said, from being a nurse to being given those medications, did you start seeing that differently whenever you had to administer medications to different clients of yours?
Yeah. I mean, when you first become an addict, you're doing the right thing and everybody else is doing the wrong thing, right? That's addict thinking. So not in the beginning, I had it under control, but they didn't kind of thing, right?
That's the rationalization part, right?
Right.
Like, I used to smoke meth, not shoot it because I'm not a junkie.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's the way you think.
Classier, man.
Yeah. So I in the beginning, I was taking them as prescribed and maybe sometimes I'd take an extra one, but I wasn't out there looking for it on the street like they are. So, not like them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, the feeling you got, compare that to, there's nothing else that you did in your childhood. Or did you play sports? Did you excel at school? Certain things like that give us these endorphins that get set off. It's a completely different feeling taking that pill and the feeling that you felt that day.
Yes. There's no feeling I've ever had like that, or I probably will ever have like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I did all that. Sports, kids, family. I mean, I have had all the happy feelings. But nothing compares to that.
Man.
Some people don't get that. I mean, it's just brain chemistry. I'm one that did.
Yeah.
Now, did they give you energy as an opiate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you, were you ever diagnosed with ADHD or ADD? Do you have OCD? Anything?
No.
Nothing.
But after, one thing led to another and it eventually came crashing down on me. And I ended up in Pima County Jail.
Ooh, Miss Diana.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, we got it.
And at that point, I had to fight for my nursing license. Very humbling experience. Extremely humbling. That's when I figured out I'm exactly like everybody else.
Right.
That's the experience. But once I got into therapy and, 3 years of mandatory to keep my license, mandatory IOP, groups, NA, AA, you
3 years?
3 years.
That's what they
Dang.
made you do. How many meetings or things did you have to do per week?
2 meetings a week of NA, 1 meeting, it's called a nurses meeting with other nurses. You drop twice a month at least, and you have to follow with a doctor, and you have to, if you need to, you have to follow a psych. I didn't. But the thing I had learned during that time is I always say people should go through recovery without the addiction because you learn so much about yourself and what you can fix before you try and fix it with a substance.
Yeah.
So I was definitely depressed and never treated for depression. So that helped. But just also sorting out all the other crap in my life that I'd never had to sort out in those 3 years is probably what's kept me sober and clean.
So with all that garbage we keep behind us,
Yeah.
never having to sift through it until we want to dig in and find the real us.
Yeah. And it's not easy,
No, it's not.
but it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
My wife and I were watching a show a while back. I can't remember what it was called, but it was on Amazon Prime. I think it was called Dope Sick.
Yeah.
And it was talking about the opioid epidemic. And I think Michael Keaton was the doctor. And I mean, it was very interesting to me to see how they had promoted the medication. They had these huge functions and, people were sent out to promote this medication. I think it was for the OxyContin when it first came out.
Yep.
And then you were talking about it last week, Dustin, where you were saying that, you know, the like 80 milligram pills came out. I think it was 80 milligrams or something. They had like doubled it and then they took them off, you know? And to see how the doctors were trying at first to help these clients heal. They were trying to just give them something that would make them feel better, and then not realizing how much of an addictive effect that pill had on them. Like, that shit was crazy to me.
I actually I was a nurse in that era, when the drug reps would come in with the Oxy to sell it to the clinics. Like they actually sampled that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
And their thing was, and this is how they sold it, you won't become addicted unless you're using it for non-pain issues. So their theory, how they sold it was, if you're in pain, you don't become addicted because your body needs it.
Yep.
That's exactly how they sold it. And then the doctors pushed it out like that.
It's non-addictive.
Right.
Right. So you can take less, only one pill twice a day to combat all the other pills they want to give you for the pain.
Right.
Like, that show is crazy. The way they marketed that drug.
Yeah.
And no wonder. And it's weird if you look at the financials on that. It's like, wow, I see why. It's all money driven.
Uh-huh.
And they
Agreed.
started out there in like the coal mine areas and stuff where it's like low income and people have to use their body every day, you know, to work.
Yep.
And hey, we're sore, we're hurting. And they're giving them these pills and they're out there busting their ass. Like, oh, I feel better, but hey, I'm getting low on my pills.
Yeah.
And then it just turned into like
Because of tolerance, right? The thing behind it was, we can prescribe you 60 of these a month, but pretty soon you're going to need 90 of these a month. And then pretty soon you're going to need 120 a month.
Yep.
And when they weren't prescribed like that, where do you get them?
the street.
Yeah.
Street.
But they started off with like a Oxycontin 20 milligram pill. And then each time they would come in with these surveys and stuff, and they would be like, it's just not working anymore after being on it for a couple months. Well, let's just double the dose.
Right.
Then you get a 40.
That's so
Then you got a 60. Then you got an 80. You know, it's nuts.
So in today's world, that's how we ended up where we are today.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we still see that. Like, we still see that in detox. People get kicked out of the pain clinic who've been on Oxy for 25 years. And then, you know, they got some fentanyl off the street because they didn't have enough Oxy. They took it all in 15 days instead of 30. And now they're kicked out of the pain clinic, but they've been on opiates for 25 years.
Wow. Yeah, that was a strange thing for me getting into the field, was seeing like nanas and tatas in rehab, like in their 70s.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you're doing like heroin. You know, I didn't know at first. I'm like, you're doing heroin. No, I was doing opiates, but it's through medications. And I'm like, damn, like that's crazy.
Prescription drugs written by a doctor.
But that you hope gives a shit about you and your health, that you just, a lot of people believe their doctors so much because they just expect their doctors to heal them and to make them better. And to think that people, you know,
Placing all that trust in your doctor, saying they know what's best for me. They're the ones that went to school for however many years. They studied in this. They're not going to give me the wrong information. They care about me, right? But here you go. We're going to give you something that you can die from.
Yeah, I think like in any other field, we're at the point where it's almost impossible to prescribe like that because it's so regulated now. However, like in any field, there's good guys and bad guys, right? The majority of doctors and physicians are good guys. They want to do the right thing for their patient. And then there's the batch of bad guys who want to make a profit. And they're still out there. I just think that people need to do their research, figure out like what's best for them.
yeah.
Yeah. Instead of putting all that trust into somebody
Right.
else. And nowadays, we can pick up our phone, get on our computer, we can Google, and we can research and read our own and come up with our own routes as well.
Right.
And we don't have to take, you know, the doctor's word is God's word, because that's not the truth.
Yeah, no.
You know?
Yeah, and you gotta be careful on Google too, man, because you look up a headache and then you're
Yeah.
stage 4 cancer. Like, I've done that shit too.
Right.
You know what I mean? But after you decided, like, when you realized that you were going through the addiction process, did you have kids and stuff at this time too?
Yes.
What was the reason you had to get sober? Because you,
I got caught.
oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, most of us just don't go, hey, I want to get sober, and it
Right.
happens.
There's always a reason, right?
Negative consequence, right?
Yeah.
You got to hit your bottom
Right.
before you can get back
And
to
so
the
here's
top.
the thing, and this is what I try to explain to every patient I see in detox. By the time you get to a detox, you're probably at your bottom. Somebody's making you be there, or you're there because you have nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
You know, I think when I hit my bottom, I went from being, oh my God, you're the best nurse, blah, blah, blah. Everybody loves you, to, oh my God, she's a piece of crap. Like, nobody wanted to be around me. She's just an addict, blah, blah, blah. And that's hard to overcome. That was a hard thing to overcome because I'd known most of these people my whole life.
Yeah.
What I've learned throughout the years are those people don't understand the disease. It's not that they're bad people.
Yeah.
They don't understand the disease. So when I'm sitting in detox with these people, that's what I try to explain to them. If you don't let that guilt go and that shame go now and stop worrying about what those people think, you're not going to move forward because you have to do that to stay clean, to get clean and stay clean.
Yeah.
And you can't be mad at people. They just don't understand it.
Yeah.
All that does is just gives them a handle to suck you back down.
Right.
Right. And me being angry at you, Buddha, you could sleep fine and not even know. Right.
Yeah.
And yet it's eating away at me so much where I got to take something so I can stop thinking about it.
Right.
Now you did share that it affected your work. Did it affect the home life too that you
Oh yeah,
noticed?
we went through some stuff.
Yeah.
Luckily, my whole family came together to support me. I have a great support system.
That's great.
My husband did have to go to classes to learn about addiction because he didn't understand it. I mean, he never did not support me. He just did not understand it. So the family, I forget what they're called, the family.
Al-Anon. And
Al-Anon.
Yeah, he went to, I don't know what it was, but he had to learn about it too. And then he did a lot of research. So all of us learning about it together made us all stronger. I mean, not overnight, of course. It's every day is a new day. We can all do better. But I think it's the whole family, if that's what's going to be your support unit, has to understand it to move forward.
And so this is 2015, right? What was your knowledge about recovery before then? Because you were, ER nurse, stuff like that. I mean, did you know that there's a whole other area of just, alcoholics and addiction and how that works?
No, I mean, I knew there was places, but I never, that's where you sent people to get them out of your ER so you could move on with your day. No, I didn't know. And I was lucky enough in 2015 to meet Dr. Dittmanson. And that's when he gave me, my first nurse practitioner job in a methadone clinic. And that's where I really started learning about the disease. Like, yes, this is a disease. And that's where this kind of took off. And, I think once you figure out that part of it, the rest kind of just follows.
Yeah. We talked a while back on how certain things that we experience in our life get us ready for what like our plan in life is, right? Like for me, it's like, I feel like, for me, it's faith. I'm faith driven. So it's like God went through all this because God has a plan for me. During that time, Diana, like what was the year span from when you got on the opiates to when you finally, how many years was that?
Of use.
3.
About 3
Almost
years?
3, yeah.
And hearing you talk about family and the support system to it, I think is a super important thing. I was just talking to a client in the front again who just came up to me and she goes, yeah, I'm becoming a regular now. And, I told her, I said, hey, what's going on with you? How come you're talking so negative? Like, how's your family doing? How's your brother? I know her brother. She said, he's doing good. But I ain't got no family. No one gives a shit about me anymore. No one one wants to do anything with me anymore. They don't want to be around me. And I tried to tell her, I said, trust is lost. I heard one time that trust is lost in buckets and it's gained back in drips. So you can easily lose your family's trust like this, but getting it back is going to take some time.
Years.
But going back to what you said about how those thoughts in your head, like, the pride or the, not wanting to tell people what you're going through or whatever, all those thoughts could limit the shit out of you because now it's like, they don't want shit to do with me. You're not thinking that if I get my shit together, it may take some time, but I could possibly get back to a place where my family trusts me again and where I'm able to be around them again. And it's just so sad to see that,
It's because it's instant gratification. People want everything to be fixed right away.
Yeah.
And when you think, well, geez, it's going to take me years to earn back the trust I've lost, you don't want to put in the work, right?
Yeah. Seems like a whole lot of work when you say it like that, right?
But it is. It's a lot of work. And you have to, most of us have fought that battle every day. And still we do things to always, maybe 1% better than yesterday. Yeah. And I'm at a point now where I know when my negative energy is coming back or like I'm sliding backwards, not so much in addiction, but the things that lead to addiction, right? Back to addiction, behaviors, attitudes. I can identify them now and catch it. And I think that's the point in recovery that you want to be at to identify it and take care of it right then, because it does always come back. Those things come back.
Self-awareness.
Right.
I was telling Dustin earlier, I'm like, sometimes, in life, it seems like easy to let stuff go or we don't address it, right? And then you keep going. And then eventually it feels like you got like 10 silverback gorillas on your back that you're carrying around.
Right.
And then you're like, how am I going to sort through all this stuff?
Right.
Which makes it even seem more impossible. But then I always revert back to, hey, this is a lot of work staying sober and clean today, but I did a whole lot of work staying high.
Right.
A lot of work.
Full-time job. Yeah.
Lying, cheating, stealing, destroying any kind of relationships I had, but I did it. And then putting in the positive work now, which, we don't always get a pat on the back or anything like that. When we're doing bad shit, people are quick to tell you, hey, you're fucking up, blah, blah, blah. But when we're doing the right thing, it seems like really nobody notices. And for us, sometimes, we all say, hey, I don't need to be thanked or told I'm doing a good job. But in all reality, down deep, who doesn't like to get a pat on the back and be told, hey, you are doing awesome. Like, I appreciate you. And I've seen the change in you, and all that stuff feels good. And it fuels that to even want to do better. Like Diana said, do 1% better tomorrow than I did today. Mm-hmm. I have plenty of days where I do great. And then, I'll have a day where, I'm just not feeling it. I take a couple steps back and I go to bed that night and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a better person tomorrow than I was today.
Yes.
And I got to realize, hey, I'm a human being. I made mistakes today, but that doesn't define me who I'm going to be tomorrow. I'm going to be the person that I was supposed to be tomorrow. I'm going to be kind, compassionate, loving, courteous, helpful, all that stuff.
Yep.
Right. And it is a lot of work. Sometimes it gets overwhelming on, doing the right thing all the time. I tell my wife sometimes, I'm like, sometimes I get so sick and tired of, trying to do the right thing so I can achieve, maybe get the love I feel like I need or want, or the friendships I need and I want. And I just want to be a complete asshole and a dickhead and be like, fuck it. But, there's no reward in that for me.
No.
I think we're all reward driven. And like you said, we like that instant gratification, but you got to have those long-term goals set too.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell people in detox, you're going to have more bad days than good days the first 6 months in recovery, and you got to be prepared for that. It's just how your brain's healing. It's just about, getting things back in line. It's about a lot of stuff. But pretty soon you're going to start having more good days than bad days. Bad days are always going to come. You just have to be prepared for them.
Yeah.
And no, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
That as soon as I go to sleep tonight, tomorrow I get to wake up and I get that reprieve.
Exactly.
And make it how I want. And when we come out there, positive attitude, our days usually seem to go better. If I wake up and I want to have a negative attitude and I want to welcome all that negativity in, then of course I'm going to have that shitty day. If I wake up and I'm like, nobody is going to break my happiness today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be strong-willed and I'm going to do whatever I can to make everybody else's life a good day too. You have the greatest days ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What is the acronym where they say, like, for self-awareness to check yourself? It's like, if you're hungry, if you're tired, halt. Hungry. What is the acronym?
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah. So always going back to thinking that whenever you have a thought, like yesterday, for example, I didn't get enough sleep and I'm driving and I could see I'm already being a kind of, not trying to be a dick, but I'm just in a bad mood, right?
Aggressive driver.
Yeah. My wife can pick up on it. She's like, are you mad? And I literally sat there and I prayed and I'm like, God, just please allow me to check myself today. Don't let me act on emotions. Don't let me, get overwhelmed. Just check me today, because I know why I feel like this. I just needed to get my sleep,
Yeah.
That's all I needed, but it was nobody's fault but myself. I could sit here and blame everyone and project all this negativity into the world, or I could just suck it up.
Yep. Yeah. And just like Diana said, it's recognizing that,
Yeah.
When, hey, okay, maybe I need to eat because I'm getting hangry.
Matt likes to eat, so that's a lot. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, and that's the thing too. You know what I mean? Like everyone, and I think it's gotten better from even like from when I went through treatment, right? But I've also seen like family members that have gone through it, older generations, like my mom's generation, and like watched him go in and out of treatment. And like for recovery, it was just like meetings and like detoxes, really. You know what I mean? There was very few residentials and like, and so like people, I think, often just focus on the word recovery as just getting off the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
When in fact it's getting your emotions and regulating your emotions, like learning how to do simple things, is like making your bed and getting into routines, and getting some structure back in your life. And I think that's, the drug population and that problem is continuing to grow. But with that being said, I think like recovery, especially, like that's one thing I like about here is we try and incorporate a lot of the different aspects that we're going to use on the outside, not just getting off the drugs. I think, to be honest, nowadays that's probably one of the easier parts of is to just physically get off, because we have medical and medications that can help and stuff like that to kind of get your body back in balance. But it's that mental part that and that broad term of recovery that is probably the hardest.
Right. If you don't do the work, you're going to end up right back there in the
Exactly.
detox.
Yeah. And we see it all the time because the numbers aren't in our favor, right? I mean, there's a very low number of people that actually put together long-term sobriety and meetings and all this other stuff. Recovery isn't just based, in my opinion, and through my experience, recovery isn't just based upon meetings and RTCs and IOPs, right? Recovery for me means when I have a life situation come up there where I can make a decision whether I'm going to act this way or I'm going to act this way. That's recovery for me, right? And it's been years, and I've shared this before. It's like a tailor-made suit. Yeah. I've taken bits and pieces of people that I see who are out there saying the certain stuff, but their actions back that up.
Right.
Because people are good at saying stuff, and then behind the scenes, they're completely full of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to sift through that, because it's just like anything else, right? I mean, if you can find those good things in recovery, then you're going to do well. They say, find the winners, stick with the winners, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Fake it till you make it, all that stuff. Little stupid acronyms, but they do ring true.
It's the truth, man. It really is. I was listening to a guy talking about his life transformation. He was saying when you're making your bed every day, when you're doing those analogies, right, doing better things for yourself, it's like you're uninstalling an old operating system on a computer and you're reinstalling a completely new state of mind. Right. So you just got to stay with it every single day. Check that voice in your head. Think of that voice in your head as like an annoying ass roommate who won't shut the hell up, and all he does is talk and talk and talk. And just got to learn to really control that. And, that mixed with the community aspect here, I honestly, Matt, I challenge that statistic, because I've heard people say the percentage is so small, but I really do feel here, this is the first rehab that I've ever worked at, but that sense of community, being human beings and having each other support each other, because you guys see it, when you pull up, people are always in a good mood when they're out here. And I really do feel like it's because they're around people who are going through the same stuff.
It is cloud nine here, though. But see, you're in a protective environment right now, right? As soon as you leaving the nest, when life starts hitting you, because you really don't have to deal too much with actual reality in life when you're in treatment.
Yeah.
You're getting all the good things and all that stuff. You're safe. But then when you leave here and you're the one that's not saying you got to be at group at 9, you got to do this, and you're like, okay, I have all this time. There's nobody watching. And you sit there and you're in your own head, and you're anything like me, which a lot of addicts I found out I'm a lot like. I sit there, and that's the worst time to be alone in my head.
Oh, man.
And it's very difficult to continue what we see here when you're outside the nest.
Yeah.
I mean, and think about it. How powerful of a drug is fentanyl and opiates when people know one pill they could take could kill them, and they still do it.
Absolutely.
How was that for you, Diana, seeing that epidemic start from the beginning?
So when I first started at the ARC, we saw very little fentanyl and a lot of heroin and alcohol. Probably 90% IV heroin, 10% alcohol, meth goes with both. Now you don't see any heroin, and it's all fentanyl. And even my old time, I call them my old timers, my heroin users, have gone to fentanyl when they wouldn't have touched it before. They didn't touch it for a long time. And it's because there's no more heroin, because obviously it's cheaper to make fentanyl in the lab than to grow poppy fields for heroin, right? Mm-hmm. It's who's going to get the most money, who makes the most profit. So the fentanyl epidemic is out of control, as we all know, and it's the toughest one to get a hold on.
Man.
When they're coming out, I mean, you see it every day, right? I mean, you give people medications to, help them come through their withdrawals and stuff. But the fact of the matter is it seems like we don't even have strong enough medicine to combat the intensity of the withdrawals that fentanyl puts out there.
We used to use buprenorphine to get people off heroin and prescription narcotics, and it worked pretty well. You could start them in 24 hours. They did pretty well. You can get them stable enough to program. Fentanyl, if you start them within 48 hours, they go into precipitated withdrawal just because it's...
And explain that, precipitated withdrawals.
So if you give buprenorphine too early, so buprenorphine attaches to the same receptors in the brain that the opiate attaches to.
Mm-hmm.
And it prevents craving, gets them out of withdrawal. If you give it too soon, it puts them into a worse withdrawal that they would have without the medication. So
Which
it's
is
pretty
crazy.
ugly. Yeah,
Wow.
it gets really ugly. But now we have this 48-hour waiting period, right? Coming off smoking 60 fentanyl pills a day,
Jeez.
but you have to wait 48 hours to start this medication that's going to help. That's 48 hours of hell,
Yeah.
literally.
I mean, that feels like 2 weeks when
Yeah,
you're an addict.
and it's horrible for them, and it's hard, and a lot of people can't do it, and
Ugh.
it's just the fentanyl's so powerful.
And Oxycontin was powerful as hell, right?
Yeah, but nothing
fentanyl
compared to
is
fentanyl.
just hands down. And there's
Right.
something even more powerful right now on the East Coast.
Is that the car fentanyl?
No, it's something different.
Something new.
It's another powder,
Oh,
and it's a
shit.
man-made, again, opiate that is like 25 times stronger than fentanyl.
Oh my!
And it's on the
God.
East Coast, and it's just disgusting. When I first came into the program, you would go to meetings, and the only heroin addicts were like the old Vietnam vets,
Mhm.
right? And then all of a sudden, when I, had a little relapse in 2010, I came back into the rooms, and you very rarely saw like 18, 19, a lot of younger people, but it was all younger people.
Yeah.
And they were all opiates. And a lot of things I heard was like they were getting into their parents' medicine cabinets
Pill parties.
and having pill parties, dumping
Yeah.
all these pills, into a bowl, and you go in and people just scoop and take.
Yeah.
But it was like,
Jeez.
wow, what a difference from, age wise. And you used to, heroin addict, an old Vietnam vet, that was who you
Yeah.
pictured.
Mhm.
And then here's this 18-year-old kid with these abscesses and everything all over their arms. And that was 2010. Now you go and it's like fentanyl, and it's every age and walk of life. You're
Across the
thinking,
board. That's what I always say. And, people always say to me, oh, I can't believe you're an addict, which that statement kind of throws me sometimes because what I say to everyone, right?
What do
I
you
say to
expect?
everyone is it doesn't discriminate.
Mhm.
It doesn't like pick class or profession or
Yeah.
gender or sex.
Yeah.
It doesn't care. Like across the board, people are addicts. And in detox, I always say this to people because I do hear this a lot. I'm only here for alcohol. I'm not like these guys over here, these
Oh, my
addicts. And I'm like, no, you're really exactly just like them.
Yeah.
You're no different.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
there's a problem right there when they can't even identify with somebody that has the same thing
Right.
going, just a different.
And that's my line. Until you find some humility, you're not going to get better.
Amen. That's real.
And it's crazy because I think, it's like you talked earlier, it's in our brains, right? That addiction part.
Uh-huh.
I think, back in the day when I was flying a lot for work, I'd have to fly to Philly once a month. I'd get on a 4-hour flight. I would sit down, watch the guy in front of me order one mixed drink. They give you that little shooter. He would pour half of it in his drink, put the cap on, put it in his pocket. That whole 4 hours, I'd be waiting for him to touch that and pull it out. He wouldn't. He'd get off the plane with that little bottle, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What? How was he able to do that, right? Because for me, it was like, all right, had an 8-ball Coke or 8-ball meth. I mean, we did it till it was gone, then went and got more.
Right.
Wasn't, hey, I'm going to save this till Tuesday.
That was right
Right.
before the flight.
I mean, I would always try that, but it just never worked out.
Yeah, I got enough to make it through Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Addicts are black or white. Like there's no in between. It's all or nothing. And
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to remember also. I think I was talking to Matt about this a couple of weeks ago. It's not just drugs. It's all aspects of life.
Yeah.
I eat one donut, I want the whole box of donuts.
Right there with you, man.
It's all or nothing. And I have to find a gray area and really like struggle to stay in that gray area because with studying, with whatever it is I do, it's all or nothing,
Yep.
All in.
all in or all out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't eat the donut because I know I'm going to have 3 of them.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to have, though, partially, like that determination and dedication of, okay, I love doing this and all in, focus. But then it's also a curse.
It is a curse.
It is,
You know.
man.
Now, I asked you earlier about ADHD, stuff like that. Most people who do have an addiction also have co-occurring.
Mhm.
Do you struggle with anxiety or
Definitely anxiety and
PTSD?
depression.
Yeah.
The number one reason for substance abuse is PTSD, trauma in childhood.
Mhm.
Hands down, the most. And I've had my fair share of childhood shit,
Yeah.
but
we
I
all-
think mine was really genetics, a lot of genetics. Like it just set my brain off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have co-occurring depression, anxiety, and I've had to learn how to work on that. And I'm a believer now. I've just been, I was burned by oxy in my head, so I'm very careful of what I take, medication wise. So I try and deal with a lot. I exercise a lot. I know when I'm anxious, I got to go to the gym. I got to get it out. You learn
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
But
the tools they
there-
talk about.
Most everybody's co-occurring. I mean, everybody has something.
Yeah.
Rarely does somebody not have anxiety, depression, something.
To go along with the
Right. And after you've been using substances a long time, you are depressed because
Yeah.
you're not firing off those chemicals that you should be firing that make you happy.
And like you said, too, it's not just the drugs and the alcohol, too. I mean, they can have anxiety, but they shop,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Online shopping, and it takes care of that anxiety and then
Right.
the excitement and blah, blah, blah. Like they're trading one thing for another,
Right.
It's
Just staying in your gray area. You have to find it. Whatever it is, it has to be in the gray area. I think here, though, we're very blessed. A lot of our staff has been through the program or been through some kind of treatment, and we're really good with keeping the clients here
Yeah.
and listening to them. And when I get people back in detox over and over and over again, I always tell them, we believe in you until you believe in you. And what they say is, we keep coming back here because we're never judged.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of the key to our success, because here, no matter what part of the program they're in, they don't feel judged.
Yeah.
no.
And most places they still do, just because of the misunderstanding of the diseases.
Going back to like my addiction and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I do really appreciate and stuff. And granted, I probably used it as more of an excuse when I was going through treatment and stuff like that. But, dealing with doctors or, therapists that, they might have the education in there and licensed and stuff like that. But having your boots on the ground and and having your own experience in that moves, it moves mountains when it comes to talking to clients. Right.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm sitting here and I ask you, hey, have you been through this? And you say no, then I'm automatically in my head like, well, then you have nothing
You have
that
no idea.
you can't say anything that I want to listen to. And I'm pretty much shut off.
You don't know where I've been or what I've done,
Exactly.
And we had a podcast with my pops on
Oh yeah.
for Father's Day. He was an undercover narcotics officer growing up, and then when it came time for him to be able to understand that his son was a drug addict and he just couldn't quit, he had to go and do his research. He looks at it a completely
Yep.
180 from how he did for years,
Right.
And that's the thing. If you don't have that knowledge, how are you supposed to know? I could have all the degrees and stuff, but if I don't really know, hey, this is what, 12 years of drug use did to me, and these are the things I went through, how could you relate to me
Right.
if I didn't have that?
Right. And he did the work. Your
Yep.
dad did the work to learn. And
Yeah.
that's how you get your support system.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he should kick my ass to the curb a long time ago.
But I think
You know.
something Buddha said earlier, I don't remember exactly how you said it, but like 2015, I'm 7 years in now. Even 3 or 4 years ago, I would have never agreed to tell my story. And there was still not so much guilt and shame, but I don't want people to think I'm not a good provider. And that was always in my head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, some people knew, but I wasn't just like out there, hey, this happened to me.
Billboarded.
Yeah. And then there was one day, I mean, I don't go around like, hey, Dustin, nice to meet you. I was an oxy addict. But I think the moment that I decided I don't care anymore, like I really don't care. You can either come to me or not come to me or trust me or not trust me, but I am who I am. And once I started telling my story to the people who needed to know, patients, whoever, that is the most then you're really in recovery and moving forward because you have nothing to hide anymore. Like you don't care. Like use my story to your benefit. And this is funny because the first time I walked into this doctors, nurses, mandatory meeting we had to go to every week, I was so ashamed. I'm like, I'm going to be the only nurse there. And, because I was still all about me, and it was all about me. And, it's very selfish. And I go into this meeting, and there's a cardiologist and a neurosurgeon in there, right? And they're arguing about who's a better doctor. And I'm like,
oh my God.
And they're in the class with you?
Yeah, they're both in recovery also doing this program.
Yeah.
We're all doing it together. And then as you get into it more, you're like, you know what? I'm one of millions. Like, I am not special.
Yeah. And we like to think we are.
Yeah, no.
But we're not. And I think that's when we become, able to teach others.
Right.
And it's always great hearing Diana's story and talking to her because she has, a unique outlook on it and stuff too. And, the nice thing is that you do like to share that stuff because whether or not it, no matter who you're sharing it to, 10 people, 2 or 3 of those people are going to remember that.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a big influence on why they get to succeed in life.
Yep. Or 2 or 3 will always be like, oh my God, she did this. And you have to get to the point where I don't care. Like, your feelings have nothing to do with my life. Like, literally, I hope I help you. If not, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's so true. And, shout out to Vance, but Vance always says this: transparency leads to transformation.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. And I like to think as well, because I've been here for quite a bit. It's been a while. And I know that you've had children that have worked here and stuff like that. And I think that's such an important thing too, to show that transparency, because so many people with their pride, by you doing that and by you being open, you're teaching your kids that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to open up about some of the things. And I really do feel like that's a huge thing, because most of us don't want to open up. We're too prideful. Like, I care too much about what Dustin thinks. I don't want to talk to you because I've been hurt. I don't want to feel hurt more,
Right. And I think what Matt says is important. And yes, we've all learned as a family so much, especially my adult kids. And I have a daughter that's a cop. She worked here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she has that understanding out there in the field that other cops don't have.
Yep.
She gets it. She had a mom, she gets it. And I think she's just that more prepared for her job.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Knowledge is power.
Right.
And that's key.
Mm-hmm.
So detox again, you come in and I heard you say it doesn't matter how many times, we don't judge you.
Mm-mm.
I'm pretty sure you're a firm believer like I am. It doesn't matter if you've been here 20 times. What about that 21st time you come in and you get it? Like, that's exciting,
right.
To see, and you get to see those transformations. When they come in for detox, that's when they are completely just fucked. And they don't know how to act. They don't know how to be angry, how to be happy, how to be whatever. Their emotions are all over the place. But by the time they step down to RTC and they've been going through RTC a couple of weeks later, and you deal with RTC people in RTC too, and you get to see the transformation, how awesome is that you get to go, you know what? Like, they were ready to leave, and I spoke to them and boom, like, this is where they're at. Like, and if I wouldn't have opened up and shared and been transparent, then, God knows where it would be. Cause I know you're very passionate about, hey, this could be this person's last stop.
Right.
And if we, ask them to leave, they could not come back ever or go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I always say this. I've seen more death in this field than I ever saw in all my years in the ER. And that's a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
That's crazy.
So every time somebody comes into detox, you have to treat them with fentanyl. Like, this is they could die tomorrow. They might die tomorrow. Like, you don't know if you will ever see them again. It's that bad.
Yeah, they're on a life support machine.
Right.
Basically, that's what that is.
Man.
We're their life support when they're in here.
And ARC does this very well. And kudos to our staff. The people in detox are going through a really, really tough time. And you cannot punish them out of their behavior, which is a thing that a lot of facilities try to do. Well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and blah, blah, blah. Very rarely do we ask somebody to leave, because we know, we expect these behaviors. They're going through the most horrible hell of their life. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be nice and sunshiny and good morning, ma'am. It's not how it is. And our staff does so well across the board of meeting them where they are and keeping them here.
And understanding that, because of what you said earlier, most of our staff have been through it.
Right.
That's why they understand it.
Right.
And
I always say, if we can get them through 5 days, we have a chance.
Yep.
And those 5 days aren't easy.
No, like Dustin said, it could be, 5 days, but it seems like 3 months.
Yeah, they don't even know how long they're here after day one.
No.
What day is it?
Yeah.
I've heard that shit a lot.
Yeah,
Bro,
they
what
don't
day
know.
is it, man?
Biden's our
know.
president. Yeah.
That's crazy. I remember certain like BHTs, you know, when we were working on the floor, it'd be like, yeah, man, this dude, he's being an asshole to me right now or whatever. And it's like, bro, it's not you. You're taking this shit personally. This has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Go take him out for a cigarette, dude.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting up here on the chair. Go take him out for, I'll watch this board for you or whatever.
Give them a popsicle.
Yeah, that's
Some
all you
candy,
want.
Yeah,
you know,
candy. Give them what they
something,
want.
popcorn, all they
real.
want is like something.
For real, I remember on Halloween one year, we spent like probably $30 on candy just for male detox. Big old bowl. And we went in there, we're like, hey guys, you know, I know you guys are in here during the holidays. It's a rough time to be here, but happy Halloween, man. You guys enjoy. We came back 5 minutes later. That
Gone,
bowl was
yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
It was gone,
Sugar.
man.
Yeah, sugar. The world's first documented addiction. Sugar.
That's real. That's
Yeah.
real.
That's true.
Yep.
You were saying that you wanted to throw something in there. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
remember?
Before I'm gonna have to go see patients, but ARC has a special. We are one of the only facilities that do pregnant females, and we do it well. And pregnant females, as we know, is a high risk population. The goal is to have them as stable on either Subutex or methadone when they go into labor as we can. And that is, of course, protecting mom and baby. And we are really trying to ramp that service up right now because there's such a need in Tucson and the whole state. Really, nobody really like focuses on this population, but it is a big population.
Yeah.
And I think that moms are so shamed for being moms already that, you know, how shameful is it that you're using drugs and you're pregnant?
Yeah.
What a piece of shit are you?
Talk about some guilt.
Guilt. I think what people don't realize is it's not that they want to do that. It's not that they're trying to be a bad mom and use drugs. They have no control over it.
Yeah.
And when we talk about pregnant females, I think it's everybody's job or duty in this field to try and get them into treatment no matter what it takes. Because once you can stabilize them, both of them have such a better chance of being good after the baby's born or when the baby's born. And so the ARC is really going to, you know, focus on that. We already do, but we're going to take it a little bigger. And I think that's just an important niche that we're going to fill, especially right now with this fentanyl epidemic.
No, it's great. I mean, yeah, they do come in with a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, you know, being pregnant. Because, I mean, before, look, people used to, you know, turn an eye when they're smoking a cigarette. You see a
Right.
pregnant woman smoking a cigarette, right? Let alone a pregnant woman buying some fentanyl pills.
Right.
You know, it's a very tough, you know, talk in of, hey, you're not going to be judged, and they won't be judged here. And the nice thing is that you guys have come up with a specialized care for those pregnant women that is hands down top notch.
Right.
Yeah.
Top notch to be able to help mommy and unborn baby to have some sort of normalcy when the baby comes,
Right.
and to be off that fentanyl by the time the baby comes, right?
Plus to potentially reduce, you know, legal problems and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you
Oh,
see a lot of
absolutely.
a lot of our clients coming in that, you know, can't get off while they're pregnant, right? And
They shouldn't. I mean, they
Yeah,
should be
but-
on maintenance.
but don't seek the help or know that there is help or
they're
dealing with that guilt or whatever, you know.
Right.
And then they you know end up dealing with DCS and potentially getting their kids taken away.
Right.
So
You know, I appreciate you coming in. I know you
Yeah.
got to go see patients, but
Yeah, most definitely.
leave us
Thank
with a mic drop of what is it that if you could say one thing to somebody, whether it was your own experience or what you see, that would help them get through whatever they have of a big ordeal or think it's the end of the world coming kind of moment, what would you tell these people?
As long as you do better than you did yesterday, every day you do the right thing, good things are going to come. And a year from now, if you keep doing good things, your life is going to be 100% turned around.
Through that.
All right.
Through that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, guys.
Miss
Thank you for
Diana,
having me.
thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. You know, it was a true blessing to be able to sit down and have a conversation with you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the ARCast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure, you know, that you guys share this with somebody, whether they're in recovery, family member, whatever it may be. We really appreciate it. We're all over the place, Google, Apple Podcasts, everything. If you would like to be a part of the show, hit us up at thearcast6944@gmail.com. As always, have a beautiful week. Much love and God bless. Thank you again, Diana. Bye-bye. What's going on, everybody? This is Buddha from the ARCast, and I just wanted to thank you for checking out this week's episode. It means a lot, and if you could share it with a friend or a loved one, somebody in need in recovery, or maybe somebody who just needs that little bit of extra positivity in their life, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you would like to join us here on the ARCast, either in the studio live or online, hit us up. The links are down in the show notes of this episode, and on there, you can find direct links to our main website here at Americas Rehab Campus and all of our social media platforms. Follow us. We keep the posts positive and motivational, focused on recovery, health, and wellness. As you know, in this modern day and age, we need as much love as possible, y'all. And as always, if you or somebody you know is in need of substance abuse treatment, please don't hesitate to give us a call. We're open 24 hours a day, and our direct phone number is 1-833-272-7342. Once again, that phone number is 1-833-272-7342. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Much love and God bless. Peace.